Shocking truths, 7 dark secrets of medieval England revealed at midnight. Imagine a world shrouded in shadows, where whispers of forbidden truths echo down cobblestone streets. It's a chilling night in medieval England, the air heavy with secrets. In the heart of the darkened village, villagers huddle around flickering torches, eyes wide with terror. What if I told you the land you stand on holds the blood of ancient curses, and haunting spirits lurk just beyond the edge of sight? Our first truth hits hard, the enigma of the mangled skeletons found beneath old church floors. The bodies, buried without ceremony, speak of the dark practices of the village. Could they be the remnants of traitors? Witches? The stories swirl like the fog that blankets the town at night. Old man Cranford sits by the fire, his gnarled fingers trembling as he mutters about blood oaths, claiming these bones scream for justice even after death. Just as the tension builds, another chilling fact surfaces. Every full moon, the villagers hear ghostly wails echoing from the forest. Is it the wind, or are the spirits calling for help? The sound curls around the heart, squeezing tight, as it sends chills racing down your spine. What unspeakable horrors happened here? What secrets still lie hidden in the shadows? Then, amid the mounting dread, the whispers turn to horror. The recurring visions of a cloaked figure stalking the village, appearing in dreams, bring a lump to the throat. Each sighting is paired with strange occurrences: crops wilting overnight, livestock mysteriously vanishing. Are these just bad omens or something much more sinister? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With each tick of the clock, the village falls deeper into chaos. What will happen when the moon is full again? As villagers barricade themselves in their homes, the intense pounding of hearts can almost be heard rising above the suffocating silence. The ancient secrets seem to feed off fear, growing darker, deeper. The darkness thickens, as the line between reality and nightmare blends. Who will face the truth before it consumes them all? The night stretches on, cold and unforgiving. Shadows creep like hungry ghosts along the walls of the tiny houses that line the village. A low murmur rises, whispers of fear and dread that weave their way through the narrow streets. An old woman, Agnes, peers through a cracked window, holding her breath. She knows what others do not: the full moon is rising again. With its ascent, a source of terror returns, filling the hearts of the unsuspecting with icy dread. Rumors swirl as villagers consider their options. Should they face the lurking darkness? Or hide, praying that the spirits overlook their fragile little lifelines? Agnes swallows hard, her fingers dug deep into her shawl as shaking tremors run through her body. The tales of the cloaked figure are no longer mere whispers, they are flesh and bone, pressing against her chest. And then it happens. A keening, high and sharp, pierces the chill air. The sound claws at the villagers' senses, dragging them from their nooks and crannies. Eyes widen in paralyzing fear as they recognize the forest's anguished cries coming to life. Not again, someone whimpers from the corner of Agnes's view. The torches flicker as those brave enough to step out gather around the central square. They shuffle nervously, exchanging anxious glances. Old man Cranford stands at the front, his frail frame shivering. Lurking fiends. They want our souls. He bellows, but even his own voice shakes. They all feel it: the rippling energy of the moon overhead, a wild pulse that draws forth the malevolent forces buried deep beneath the soil. Gather the children. A woman shouts. Fear for their future propels them as they rush to barricade doors and windows, panting from the effort and the terror swelling within. Yet, deep in the heart of the woods, cloaked in shadows, a figure stands watching, waiting. The moonlight glances off the glint of something metallic in its hands, a dagger or an ancient relic. No one knows, but the legends speak of sacrifice, of blood having been spilled to appease the restless spirits. Each glance at the figure sends shivers through the villagers, thickening the tension that hangs like thick smoke. Agnes finds her voice amid the commotion. We must face it head-on. They'll never stop, not until we confront whatever it is plaguing us. As she gathers a small band of villagers, resolve flashes in their eyes. They are tired of living in terror. But even as Agnes steps forward, another sound steals the breath from their lips, a splintering crack that signals something sinister. The ground beneath them quakes. A deep rumbling echoes from the forest, as though the earth itself is protesting. Flee! Someone screams, but it's too late. A surge of dark energy races through the village, pulling the very sky into chaos. In that moment, hope is buried beneath waves of panic, and so, a choice looms heavy in the air. The villagers must face the approaching unseen storm, or be swept away by the tides of the past that are crashing toward them. Will Agnes and her small band unravel the truth behind the cursed screams, or will they become yet another haunting tale whispered by the village? As the winds howl, the tension escalates, culminating in the ominous question that hangs over them like a dark shadow: who will survive when the truth finally emerges from the shadows? Agnes clutched her shawl tighter as the earth moaned beneath her. The air was electric, heavier than before, thick with fear and foul anticipation. She sensed the villagers' terror pulse around her, a living thing that threatened to choke the resolve she and her small band had gathered. Stick together! She shouted, her voice slightly breaking as the shadows danced in the flickering torchlight. The men and women who stood with her exchanged glances filled with dread, uncertainty swirling in their eyes. They were about to confront the darkness that had terrorized them for far too long. With shaky breaths, they moved toward the edge of the woods where the figure lingered. The moon, now high and unforgiving, shone down upon them like an accusatory gaze. It illuminated the warped trees, their gnarled branches reaching out, as if trying to warn them to turn back. But Agnes felt the cold fingers of fate tightening around her heart. There was no turning back. The group crept forward through the crunching leaves, the sounds of their feet echoing in the eerie silence. Each sound seemed amplified, a heartbeat of the forest. The screaming cries from earlier were now only whispers, but Agnes could still hear the agonized wails that echoed in her soul. Each note reverberated like a warning, telling her to run. A chill coursed through her, but hope triumphed over fear. Suddenly, the cloaked figure stepped into view, and terror washed over her like a wave. The dark hood obscured its face, yet a glimmer of steel flashed in its hand. Agnes felt the gut-wrenching urge to falter, but she held her ground. "Who are you?" she called out, her voice fierce but trembling. The figure focused its gaze on her, and Agnes swore she could feel the weight of its stare, piercing and searching. "I am the keeper of what is buried," it rasped, voice low and haunting. "And what you seek has long been lost." Gasps echoed around Agnes. The others shifted, instinctively moving closer together. "What do you want?" someone called. A young man, shaking, stepped slightly forward, bravely challenging the darkness despite the tremors coursing through his limbs. "To bring an end to this cursed cycle," the figure replied, lowering its hood, revealing eyes that glowed like embers against the night. "You must face the past to break free." Agnes's breath caught. How could they confront the past when the wounds still bled fiercely? "What do you mean?" she pressed, desperation rising in her voice. The figure raised the relic it carried, and as the moonlight caught it, a vision flashed in Agnes's mind, memories of the village, of laughter, of shadows lurking behind cornered homes. Fragments of joy marred by dread filled her vision like stained glass in a church. "What you choose now determines everything," it cried, and in that moment, the clouds shifted. The moon's silvery beams illuminated a larger gathering of dark shapes in the trees, watching, waiting. It seemed as if the forest itself held its breath, the balance between light and dark hanging by a tenuous thread. "Run!" Someone shouted in panic, and the spell broke. But Agnes remained, torn between what they had known and the murky truth that lay ahead. We can't run, we must confront this. The shadows around them lunged, and the air crackled with ancient power. Suddenly, Agnes felt a burning sensation in her chest, and visions flooded her mind, hidden truths, betrayals, fears, and the hints of unspeakable horrors. As the darkness threatened to boil over, she had to make a choice. Would they brave the storm and uncover the painful history, or flee into the night, bound to their stories of fear? A single, piercing scream shattered the night. What horrors would emerge if they did confront the truth? As the screaming intensified, the moon hidden once again behind dark clouds, Agnes stared into the depths of the figure's eyes, uncertainty gripping her heart. Could they possibly survive what was to come? The darkness seemed to thicken, swirling around Agnes and her group like smoke, suffocating and heavy. They were all frozen, tangled in a web of terrified breaths as the hooded figure advanced. The realization hit Agnes like a cold knife: you can't outrun what you're meant to confront. Face the truth. The figure shouted, its voice echoing through the trees, carrying an ancient weight that reverberated in her bones. It pointed towards the swirling darkness, and Agnes could see flickers of faces emerging, distorted by pain, anger, and anguish. They seemed to dance on the edge of her vision, taunting her with the ghosts of the past. We can't lose ourselves now, she cried, trying to rally her friends, who were still caught in the paralysis of fear. We have to push through this, together. Suddenly, the ground shuddered beneath their feet, a deep rumble that seemed to awaken the very roots of the trees. The villagers stumbled, their determination cracking under the pressure of the unyielding fear that had haunted them for generations. One of the villagers, a stout woman named Marlene, stepped forward, trembling but resolute. What are we up against? What lies buried that we must face? Her voice wavered, but there was a steeliness that Agnes could admire. Your past. The figure replied, its ember-like eyes flickering with a strange intensity. The darkness you've buried deep. The secrets that tore your families apart. Hear the cries of the ones you left behind. With that, sudden images flooded Agnes's mind, wrenching memories that were not her own. She saw glimpses of betrayal: a mother weeping on her knees, a father's furious shout, children lost in shadows. It was as if the nightmares of her ancestors resurfaced, clawing at her wits. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage. Stop it! Agnes screamed, covering her ears. We don't want to remember. It hurts too much. But the figures in the darkness grew more vivid, their anguish palpable. The shadows twisted, and they began to whisper, their cries piercing the air with accusations that seeped into Agnes's soul. You turned your backs on us, a chorus of voices intoned. You abandoned us to darkness. No. She gasped, tears threatening to spill down her cheeks. We didn't know. We were just scared. But fear wasn't enough to quell the storm brewing within the villagers. The energy shifted. What was once terrifying began to shimmer with a long-buried spark of defiance. Magnus, the brave young man who had stepped forward before, took Agnes's hand and squeezed it tightly. We are not defined by our past. We must fight for our future. With encouragement igniting in her chest, Agnes looked back at the hooded figure. You've shown us our fears. Now show us how to overcome them. The figure hesitated, then nodded solemnly. To confront the truth, to change your fate, you must seek the relic that binds your darkness. It gestured back toward the forest. But it will not be easy. You will face trials that test your very resolve. As Agnes steeled herself, the ground erupted in shadows, twisting into shapes that lunged toward them. But she felt a flicker of hope now, a warmth igniting within her, the kind of warmth that pushes against darkness, not to flee, but to fight. With a deep breath, Agnes shouted, "Stick together. We can take this back." The group moved as one, inching forward, hearts racing with the balance of fear and newfound strength. Agnes felt the pull of the relic within her. The truth they buried was alive, waiting to be reclaimed. Then, just as they were about to plunge into the depths of the woods, a loud crack split the air like thunder. The ground trembled violently, and a blinding light erupted from the heart of the forest, illuminating dark shapes that threw themselves toward Agnes and her crew. "What is that?" Marlene shouted, horror etched in her face. Agnes's heart raced as she processed the light. Was it hope? Or doom? Just then, a voice boomed from the light, promising revelations that would shift their understanding of everything they held dear. "What lies before you will change your destiny forever." As the light consumed them, Agnes couldn't shake the feeling that whatever awaited them, it would weave deeper truths than they ever imagined. What awaited them in that blinding glow? Would they find freedom or face ruin? Agnes squeezed Magnus' hand tighter, the grip a reminder that they were in this together. The blinding light enveloped them, warm yet unnerving, like the flicker of a flame just before it envelopes everything in its path. Suddenly, the sensation shifted. The cacophony of sound around them faded. The whispers and cries morphed into a single, haunting melody, echoing like a phantom orchestra guiding them deeper into the heart of the light. Agnes closed her eyes, but she could still feel the brightness searing through her eyelids, drawing her forward against her will. "Stay together," she urged, her voice barely rising above the melody that beckoned and frightened all at once. As they stepped further into the glow, the world around them transformed. The trees folded into luminescent walls, vibrant hues swirling like a living tapestry. Each branch glimmered with inscriptions Agnes couldn't decipher but felt in her bones stories of pain, loss, and hidden truths. Just then, the melody abruptly stopped, replaced by a bone-chilling silence that echoed like an unspoken secret. Time seemed to freeze as a figure emerged from the illumination, a second hooded figure, equally shrouded but radiating a sense of fierce authority. "You have chosen to face the truth," the figure said, its voice smoother yet somehow more foreboding than the first. "But no one can prepare you for what you'll uncover." Agnes's heart beat louder, a frantic pulse that threatened to drown out any remaining logic. The villagers huddled closer, their breaths mixing, each warmth forming a cocoon against the unknown. "What do you seek?" the figure continued, tilting its head. "Is it redemption? A path to heal? Or are you here to confront a past that will haunt you anew?" "We want to find the relic that binds our darkness," Agnes shouted, more determined than ever. "This isn't just about us. It's for our loved ones, for the generations who suffered." The figure nodded slowly, and Agnes felt a chill seep into her bones. "The relic you seek is indeed powerful. But understand this, it is not an object, but a choice. The choice to rise above the shadows that cling to you." With a wave of its hand, the light expanded, revealing a colossal tree at the center, a gnarled beast with roots that twisted like serpents. Its trunk bore carvings, memories fused in the wood. Faces emerged within the bark, lost souls etched in agony and yearning, their eyes pleading. "What must we do?" Marlene stepped forward, voice trembling but fierce. "We've come too far to turn back. To reclaim your past, you must embrace it," the second figure said, gesturing to the tree. "Each of you must confront a memory, a choice you made or didn't make. Only then will the relic reveal itself." Agnes felt the weight of those words. The thought twisted her stomach, torn between fear and resolve. "What if we fail?" she whispered. "Failure is not the end, it is merely a step in the journey," the figure replied, its voice both haunting and comforting. "Face what you fear most. The truth shall illuminate your path." One by one, the whispers of the past fluttered in her mind, images of moments lost and decisions cast aside surfaced like disturbing phantoms. She could hear the cries of her ancestors ache deeply, echoing her own insecurities. Then suddenly, a burst of energy shattered the stillness. A hand shot forward from the tree, sinister yet hopeful, beckoning her closer. "Agnes!" Magnus cried out. "Don't go alone." But the voice calling her was no longer a whisper, it resonated like thunder within her heart. She could no longer deny the pull. She stepped forward, feeling the weight of her past pressing down, but there was also a flicker of defiance igniting a fire inside her. With every step she took, the dark memories loomed larger. Would it condemn her to repeat the mistakes of those who came before? Or could it set them free? As Agnes reached out, the light pulsed like a heartbeat, and time seemed to freeze once more. Everything around her blurred, the faces on the tree merging into one, their stories intertwining with her own. "Agnes! Magnus!" shouted, stretching out his hand, but the energy surrounded her like a shroud, pulling her into the depths of her own tumultuous past. What awaited her on the other side? Would she emerge stronger, or would she be consumed by the darkness they all feared? Agnes felt her heart race as she was drawn into the light. The pulse surrounded her, a living thing, vibrating through her very soul. It was comforting yet cruel, promising answers while chilling her spine. A whirlwind of images rushed past her, shadows of her past flickered, each one more vivid than the last. She caught glimpses of her childhood home, a small cottage with peeling paint and a creaking door. The laughter of her mother echoed, a sweet melody now marred by sorrow, the warmth choked out by memories of betrayal and loss. Tears streamed down her face, blurring her vision. Suddenly, she stood before a young girl herself, no older than 10. That innocent face stared back, eyes wide with trust. "Why did you leave me?" the girl whispered, her voice a fragile tremor that sent a pang through Agnes's chest. But Agnes could only shake her head, unable to answer. Memories bubbled like cauldrons around her, brimming with shouts and promises unkept. Her father's anger, the way it spilled over like boiling water, dousing everything in its path. She felt despair seep in when she recalled the moment she had run away, leaving behind her family and home. "Face it." The voice of the hooded figure echoed around her, thick with urgency. "You must confront your fears, Agnes. Only then will the truth find you." But why? Why relive the pain? The swirling memories surged, tugging at her, reminding her that she couldn't run anymore. Sweat dripped from her brow as she steeled herself, a shudder of determination rising within her. "Stay!" Agnes shouted, her voice drowning out the chaos. "I'm not afraid." The light intensified, golden rays enveloping her, illuminating her dark corners. In a blinding flash, she was thrust into the center of what felt like a crushing storm. The faces of lost souls in the bark amongst the roots twisted into grotesque shapes. Each one mirrored her anguish, their eyes pleading for release from an eternal cycle. "Help us!" they cried out, voices bleeding into hers. "You must choose." With a sudden familiarity, Agnes understood. Her decision wasn't just for her, it was for everyone tangled in the web of suffering. The darkness around her felt less imposing when she realized it wasn't hers alone. Breath hitching, she took one bold step forward. "I choose to face it. I take responsibility." The moment her voice resonated through the air, the energies shifted. The tree trembled, roots pulling away like living serpents, revealing a hidden path. The shadows recoiled as if to avoid a light they so feared. "Agnes!" Magnus's cry pierced through her consciousness like a lifeline, a tether anchoring her to reality. She could still feel his presence, his love wrapping around her like a protective cloak. Just when she thought she was getting a hold of herself, a deafening roar erupted from the depths of the darkness. A shadowy figure materialized from the tumult, eyes like burning coals, seething with ancient rage. "You dare to confront the past?" it spat, the voice as cold and piercing as winter's breath. "Stand firm," urged the hooded figure. "The truth must come to light." Heart pounding, Agnes felt the energy pulsate with urgency. Was she ready for this confrontation? Beneath that wrath, buried deep within the shadow, lay the truths she feared. Truths that had the power to liberate her or destroy everything she held dear. Was it too late to turn back? Or had she finally summoned the courage to vanquish the darkness? The moment hung in the balance, and with a sinking feeling, Agnes realized she may very well have to face the most terrifying secret of all, her own heart. What if confronting her own darkness unearthed something unimaginable? Something that could change everything? The roar echoed in the abyss, drowning out every coherent thought. The shadow drew closer, its form twisting as if being sculpted by the very air around it, dark fingers stretching toward Agnes like tendrils of despair. Her breath hitched, the chill of its presence seeping through her skin, rooting her in place. Was this the darkness she had to confront? Agnes. Magnus's voice surged like a tidal wave in her mind, pushing through the fear, reminding her that she wasn't alone. She could feel his unwavering support, even in the grip of this foreboding void. Summoning every ounce of strength, Agnes shouted into the storm, "I am not your victim." The words left her lips like fire, igniting a crack of light in the darkness, if only for a moment. Victim? The shadow hissed, its eyes narrowing into slits of molten rage. You are far worse than a mere victim. You are the architect of your misery. Each word struck Agnes like a fist, forcing her to confront a truth she had long buried. Memories unspooled in her mind, images of choices made and paths not taken. No. I didn't choose this. She cried, voice trembling against the thunder of its accusation. Didn't you? Your cowardice let the monster grow, it taunted, mocking her. You left them all behind, your family, your love. You thought escaping would free you, but you carried them with you deeper than skin, deeper than bones. A tremor rattled her, anger clawing at the edges of her heart. I thought I was saving myself. The rage burned fiercely, a shield against the smothering despair. What could I have done? Face it. Face your truth. The hooded figure's voice cut through the darkness, clarifying Agnes's tumultuous thoughts. Suddenly, the weight of her decision hit her, a choice that rippled beyond herself. The shadows around her screamed for freedom, for release from their pain. Were they not also a part of her existence? The lost souls, the darkness that haunted her, binding them all together in a tapestry of horror and regret. With a newfound resolve, Agnes took a step closer to the shadow. I will not hide any more. You are a part of me, but you will not control me. The roar intensified, a gust of wind rising violently around her, as if the very atmosphere recoiled from her declaration. Agnes clenched her fists, the heat of confrontation igniting her spirit. Bring it on. I'm ready. Suddenly, the shadows twisted and contorted, drawing away as the light grew more intense, illuminating her path. A burning glow spread from within her, drowning out the darkness. In that moment, she felt every ounce of pain, every tear shed, every moment of sorrow. Her heart swelled with fierce hope and absorbing regret, intertwined in an agonizing dance. Now. Show me. She demanded, her voice determined, cutting through the silence with as much power as she could muster. The shadow hesitated, its form flickering between ferocity and vulnerability, revealing glimpses of the fear within, a reflection of Agnes's inner turmoil. They were entangled. The shadow was merely an embodiment of her lost choices and forgotten joys. Find the truth within yourself, Agnes. The hooded figure cried, urgency infusing its tone. With one last surge of courage, Agnes lunged forward, diving into the depths of her heart, ready to unearth the unspoken secret that had chained her for too long. The world around her shivered, and within that tremor, she felt the ground shift, her destiny unfurling, and then, in an explosive flash, everything went dark. What had she awakened within herself? What truths lay just beyond the horizon of her understanding? Agnes was suspended in a void, a nothingness that buzzed with electric tension. It felt like being held in a tight grip that hovered on the edge of consciousness. She blinked against the dark, her heart racing, the remnants of her last declaration still echoing in her mind. Had it worked? Had the light truly pierced the shadow? In the stillness, she felt the unmistakable shift of atmosphere around her, as if the air had thickened like syrup, each breath becoming more involved than the last. Uncertainty gripped her like a vice, but alongside it flickered the embers of renewed courage. Shadows danced just out of the corners of her vision, taunting her, whispering secrets meant only for her ears. "Agnes," a voice murmured, unfurling like smoke through the void. It was familiar, hauntingly tender. "Agnes Magnus?" She whispered, barely breathing the name as it fell from her lips. Was he truly here? The sound of his voice entwined with the darkness, wrapping around her until it felt almost tangible. Her chest tightened at the thought of his presence, evaporating the last traces of her hesitation. "Find me." He called again, louder now, and his urgency surged like a fierce tide. The shadows morphed, coiling around her, but each breath she took felt like an anchor, grounding her. "I will." She shouted back, clarity breaking the spell of doubt. Despite the ebb and flow of fear that still clawed at her, she began to walk through the dark. Each step whispered defiance, the shadows retreating as though they recognized the fire in her heart. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted before her, a portal shimmering like a mirage, casting away the gloom. In its glow, she saw flashes of her past, laughter echoing through familiar rooms, the warmth of a mother's embrace, the gentle touch of a lover's hand. But just as swiftly, those images twisted into pain-cold shoulders, suffocating silences, the chasm her choices had carved. "Face it, Agnes," she urged herself. "You can change this." With that, she stepped into the light. The world erupted around her. The air was filled with voices, swirling sheets of sound like a raging storm. Agnes staggered, memories crashing down like waves. Faces surrounded her, both beloved and lost. "You left us," they cried in unison, a cacophony of echoes that pierced her heart. "No," she cried back, desperation spilling from her as tears streamed down her cheeks. "I was trying to save you." But her protests only drew deeper wounds, memories clawing at her, edges sharp with regret. "Save us?" A voice sneered, a piercing resemblance of her own. "You ran away. You thought running could bury the truth." The shadow was back, its presence looming larger through the light, but now its form shimmered with those haunting figures, each person she had turned her back on. The realization was a punch to her gut. The shadow was not just her fear, it was the very essence of her abandonment. "I was scared," she yelled, seeking to reclaim her voice amid the storm. "Scared of losing you all." The crowd of shadows paused, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. "Scared doesn't erase what you did." One figure stepped closer, a face she recognized, her younger self, eyes filled with pain. "You must confront your fear, Agnes. You cannot alter what's past without facing it." "What do I do?" she pleaded, trembling, her heart hammering. "Forgive, but remember." The voices pooled around her, coalescing into a singular truth that sent shivers down her spine. But then came a thunderous roar, as the shadows began to compile again, feeding off her uncertainty. Their force churned like a tempest, and Agnes felt herself drawn back, sucked into chaos. "Agnes!" Magnus's voice shot through the storm, fierce and unwavering, cutting through her panic. "You're running again." In a moment of clarity, she realized this was not just about facing her own darkness. It was about standing firm for those she had lost, cherishing the love she thought she had escaped. "No more!" she screamed, her voice ringing loud and true, echoing defiantly against the chaos. But what would that defiance bring? Would it lead her back to the light or plunge her deeper into darkness? A churning wave of uncertainty loomed just ahead, ready to engulf her completely. Could she confront the shadow one last time? Or would it break her will like all the choices she regretted? With her heart pounding, she braced herself for the next overwhelming truth. The storm around Agnes surged, dark energy clawing at her with hungry fingers. The cacophony of voices morphed into a deafening roar, drowning out her thoughts and hopes. They weren't just whispers anymore, they were demands, accusations that pounded against her like a relentless tide. "Face us. Face yourself." Each voice screamed, pushing her closer to the edge. Agnes clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms, grounding herself in the pain. She inhaled deeply, the air filled with the scent of earth after rain, the smell of renewal. She had buried so much, but now it was time to unearth it all. "I won't hide any more," she shouted, and the sound of her voice reverberated through the darkness. The shadows danced closer, each of them morphing into familiar shapes, faces that echoed from her past. They were more than memories, they were voices of her deepest fears, and the look in their eyes was a mirror to her own guilt. "You abandoned us," they lamented, a tapestry of pain and betrayal drawing tighter around her. "Enough!" she roared. "You don't get to own me anymore." Her words burst forth, fueled by the fire coursing through her veins. With every syllable, the shadows flickered, hesitating as the bright light from the portal shimmered again, casting long beams that pierced through the dark. Suddenly, Magnus materialized, his presence crystalline amidst the chaos, a beacon of hope against the wave of despair. "You're stronger than this, Agnes. Embrace it." His eyes were fierce, but softened with love and conviction. "I'm trying," she cried back, the weight of doubt still pressing down on her. "But they are a part of you, Agnes. You cannot run from them or from yourself." His voice anchored her, tethering her back to something she could grasp. Her heart thudded painfully, a rhythm of awakening. The shadows writhed, losing their form as her resolve solidified. She had fled long enough, it was time to reclaim her narrative, to rewrite the script in flames of truth. "Forgive, but remember," the words echoed in her mind. Forgiveness was necessary, but it had to be followed by acknowledgement. Each face within the shadows began to shift, the anger pulling back just slightly. They were frames of her own reality, each representation of pain necessary in its own right. Without them, how would she know light? "Mom, I'm sorry. Dad, forgive me. I love you all," she shouted, her spirit ablaze. One by one, shadows contorted, as if her words were liquid, melting the grip of the past. "You need us, we are your lessons." They began to merge back into a single form, coalescing into the shadow that had once engulfed her so completely. It was fear and sorrow twisted together, but now Agnes stood her ground. "Bring it on," she declared, heart hammering, eyes fierce. "I know what I did. I know fear. I know loss. But I won't let you consume me." With that final proclamation, the shadow surged forward, and Agnes braced herself, feeling its icy breath, its tendrils already wrapping around her. She felt the chill creeping up her spine, clawing at her soul. What would it demand from her? Would it succeed in dragging her under again? But as it came closer, she saw the flicker of humanity behind the darkness. Suddenly, the roiling mass shifted and shuddered, wavering against her steadfast blaze. She took a step forward, filled with fierce determination. "Who are you without me? Just a shadow? You need me to exist." The answer hung in the air, a weighty silence stretching as the essences of her abandoned family hovered just behind her, watching, waiting, ready to stand with her. Would the darkness finally break, or would it push her into the depths once more? The churning energy held its breath, and Agnes felt the world shift around her as she took a deep breath, ready to confront what lay ahead. A rumble echoed, a blend of surrender and struggle, and all eyes, both shadow and light, turned to her, waiting for the next turn of fate. What truth awaited her in that primordial swirl? She could feel the answers drawing near, heavy with promise yet steeped in peril. Was she prepared for the reckoning? Would confronting this essence lead to redemption or devastation? Agnes faced the shadow, heart racing. The air crackled with energy, a storm of emotions swirling around her. The once looming presence of darkness now felt less imposing, more like a misunderstood friend twisted by pain. She took a deep breath, pushing through the weight of fear that clawed at her throat. "You were never just a shadow, you were a part of me," she said, voice steady and low, each word carving through the tension like a knife. The shadow shivered, momentarily losing its form, and she saw flickers of the faces she had turned away from the family she left behind, the memories that still ached inside her. "I know how you suffered. I know the pain I caused," she continued, thoughts unleashing like a floodgate. "And I'm ready to face it now. But I can't do this without you." With every word, the shadows began to quiver, pulsating as if to respond to her. "You abandoned us," they moaned, accusatory yet desperate. "I did," she cried back, tears spilling down her cheeks. "But it wasn't just you I abandoned, it was all that joy too. I've carried this guilt for far too long. I can't keep running from it." Suddenly, the shadow loomed larger, breath hitching and condensing into something fiercer, almost suffocating. "You cannot escape your darkness." It roared, but her conviction cut through its roar like light through a cloud. "I don't want to escape. I want to embrace it." A wave of defiance surged through her as she took another step forward. The figure trembled but didn't retreat, something flickering in its depths, an echo of longing, perhaps. "I choose to remember," she insisted loudly. "I choose to love and honor those moments, even the painful ones. I carry my family with me in everything I do, and I will not let fear dictate who I become." With her declaration, the air around her pulsed, and the shadow flickered once again, as if trembling under the weight of her truth. "You dare?" it hissed, but Agnes held strong. "Don't you see? I dare because I've walked this path of guilt, fear, and sorrow. I dare because I've felt your pain, and I feel it still. This cycle ends now." The ground rumbled as if the world itself was responding to her challenge. Agnes felt every heartbeat of courage in her chest, igniting a warmth that enveloped her entirely. "You will not control me," she shouted again, voice powerful and unyielding, each syllable a step toward freedom. The shadow began to sway, flickering as if teetering on the edge of collapse. "You think you can change us?" it retorted, yet its voice held less power, less bite. "I don't just think it, I believe it." Her heart raced. "Together we can heal. My memories, my loves, my pain, they make me who I am. Accepting you means accepting me, and we will step into the light as one. You don't have to remain in darkness, and neither do I." The air thickened as the shadow conceded, the weight of its angst turning lighter with every word she spoke. Agnes let the memories that defined her swirl around them, each moment of laughter and heartache filled with color. "Stay or go, I will honor your existence," she told the shadow. "But you won't keep me from finding peace." Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, a warm glow seeped from the ground, reaching toward the shadow. With each pulse of the radiant energy, the darkness softened, and it began to morph, losing its form, struggling yet desperate for release. Agnes felt the shift beneath her feet, and her heart swelled, knowing they had reached a breaking point. "Forgive each other," Magnus' voice echoed, pulling strength from within. "Forgiveness is a choice, a path forward. You need to speak it. Own it." "Forgiveness," Agnes repeated, energy rushing through her. "I forgive you for the pain you caused me, and I forgive myself for the fear that held me captive." And just like that, the shadows emitted a low, resonating roar, twisting and curling like smoke before them, revealing faces of regret, pain, and finally acceptance. "Forgive," they echoed, weighing down the darkness that trembled unsurely in response to Agnes's courage. "I forgive," she shouted, firm and sure, breathing life into the very essence of the past. "You were a lesson, and through you, I've learned to embrace both love and sorrow." In that moment, everything changed. The severe dread shifted into something new, a warmth radiating through the very core of the shadows. Flickers of light surged around her, illuminating the twisted faces once buried in anguish. With shaking fury, the shadow let out a final, deeply resonant wail, and then collapsed in on itself. What moments ago loomed terrifyingly close faded into soft whispers, the energy dissolving until it turned into ethereal light. Agnes staggered back, covered in a soft glow that felt like a warm embrace. The shadows around her faded, freeing themselves and rising toward the sky like drifting petals. She wiped her tears, overwhelmed yet unchained by the experience. Magnus stepped closer, his eyes holding something powerful: pride, hope, and unwavering love. "You did it, Agnes," he said, voice steady, laced with admiration. "You faced it all." "I did, didn't I?" she murmured, gripping his hand tightly, feeling the warmth exchange energy, a promise of what was yet to come. The burden that had held her back disintegrated, replaced by a vast, open space of understanding. "We can finally breathe." As the first light of dawn broke through the trees, the villagers began gathering behind them. Relief swept over their faces as they emerged from the shadows of their fear into clarity, their silhouettes framed against the resplendent glow of the sun that promised a new day. "We are free," Agnes whispered, feeling the weight of her journey flow from her. She turned to the villagers, their expressions mixed with disbelief and wonder. "Together we can rebuild. Together we can heal." The village stood united, the anchor of community lighting their way. The past merged with the present, becoming a road filled with opportunity. Agnes released a breath she didn't know she was holding. Hope flourished, an unyielding path to redemption. As they joined hands under the rising sun, a vibrant chorus of life flared around them. They weren't just survivors, their transformation had forged a bond stronger than fear. Their futures intertwined, they found strength not in denial, but through remembering and embracing their truth. And so, as the chill of night melted away, the village stepped forward into the magnificent unknown, ready to conquer whatever lay ahead. But you know what? This ending can't be left unshared. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any exclusive stories we've got coming up. Trust me, you won't want to miss out. Smash that like button now. It's a small act that feeds the algorithm and helps us grow as a community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Agnes's journey. Let's keep this conversation alive. And listen, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your true support for the channel and be part of something special.